Yo, what is up guys, and welcome to another Wild Rift video. And in today's video I'm gonna be telling you guys who are the top 5 best champions to play in patch 5.1c. These are not all gonna be obvious, I'm not just gonna pick the top champions in the tier lists. You're about to be surprised by a lot of these champions. I'm gonna explain why they're gonna be very good, and I'm also gonna be talking about why they counter the meta, just basically why these are gonna be good. And oftentimes you'll see it may not be the best champion on a tier list, because the best champion on a tier list is obvious, right? People will kind of know how to counter it. People will draft around it. But you have these champions that are sort of in the background sometimes that counter the meta, or they just got a buff that is so damn strong that people didn't really think about it too much. And an example would be Renekton, right? Like Renekton, he's insanely good right now, but I do feel like people have figured it out. So, timestamps in the description to skip for the roles. There's one champion per role. Let's get into it. So the first champion is Garen, and there's multiple reasons for this, right? He got the buff to his second ability, which makes his second ability last 4 seconds instead of 2 seconds at level 1. And this is really important because very early on in the game, you're already gonna be super tanky. It's only a slight nerf in the late game, but the funny thing is, it really isn't, because they also buffed the initial damage reduction on the first second. So even though it lasts only 4 seconds when you max it, even in the late game, the initial proc will reduce more damage now than before. And there is more to it, by the way, guys. Because besides this buff, some fire ages got buffed as well. Some fire ages. And you may be wondering, what the hell does that have to do with Garen, right? It's not a Garen item now, is it? I want to remind you guys to one of my older videos, maybe 2 years ago on Garen, where I built Sunfire Aegis on this champion. And it was so powerful. See, right now you can sort of combine the Sunfire Aegis with a Black Cleaver, and let me tell you another one, Trinity Force can also be combined with Black Cleaver, which can actually result in a crazy all-in damage build on Garen. And the beauty is right now, you don't really even need to max your second ability anymore. You can actually max your first ability. And even though that's not ideal, it can be good when you go full damage Garen, because you're going to be increasing the base damage of the first ability, initially increasing your one-shotting potential, while also maintaining that 4-second shield on your second ability. See, there's a lot more possibilities with Garen right now, and he doesn't even really get countered by the meta. There's not enough true damage to stop the Garen. So like, I feel like you gotta experiment with Garen right now. I will as well. With the Black Cleaver Triforce combo and with the Sunfire Aegis. This one for me is going to be the main one. And like, I genuinely think, just like Renekton, we all thought the Renekton buff to his ultimate wouldn't really matter much until it actually did, right? Until we actually gave it a try, until we played against it, and the Renekton kept escaping with 1 HP. Then we realized, hey, wait a damn minute. This buff is actually quite big. So Garen, in my opinion, completely back into the meta, and while he may not be S+ tier, the reason I'm still putting him in this video is because I honestly feel like people won't see it coming. There is a thing, like if you play an S+ tier champion in Wild Rift, people will know he's good, right? Like people will know you're about to one-shot them, they'll anticipate the engage, they'll know, like they'll prepare themselves. But when you pick a champion that is not really S+ tier right now, people don't really care much about that champion. That's when you can make the real plays, right? Because while your champion may not be as strong on paper as another champion, if the enemy doesn't respect your champion as much, they're more prone to getting outplayed. They're more prone to just, you as a Garen going in and suddenly tanking everything with the Sunfire Aegis and actually burning them a lot. Like, give it a try and let me know what you guys think. And in the jungle, I got Lilia. Surprise, surprise. I know I said I'm not gonna put, the broken champions or the S+ tier champions here, but I genuinely think, even with Lilia being broken tier, I honestly think a lot of people just don't grasp how broken she really is. Like, I know a lot of people know that she's a very strong champion, but I genuinely think people just don't understand how strong she really is. She's not S+ tier, guys. She's complete giga broken tier. She doesn't care about any tank, right? She does true damage. She's the fastest champion in the game. She has one of the best CCing ultimates in the game. She can CC the enemies and one-shot all of them. She doesn't really have many weaknesses because she can build a stasis as well. Her jungle clear is fast. She can traverse through the map very, very quickly. And if you can play this champion well, guys, if you can utilize that bonus movement speed, maintain the 4 stacks of her passive, you're gonna have a fun time on this champion. And you remember when I said Garen is a very good champion for the Baron lane? A lot of tankier types of champions are good for the Baron lane right now, including Renekton and stuff like that. But Lilia doesn't care. She's gonna one-shot you, whether you're a tank, whether you're squishy, whether you have magic resist, whether you have armor, whether you have damage reduction, it doesn't matter. Lilia does true damage. And then on top of that, she burns your HP as well. So if you get anti-heal when playing Lilia, you completely negate an enemy Soraka or any healing they may have. They're gonna have to use so many abilities to out-heal a single damaging ability that you do. And the funny thing is, even after that, you're just gonna one-shot them with your ultimate. So it just really doesn't matter. It all doesn't matter. There's only minor situations where Lilia can get countered if the enemies have a ton of CC and they just shut her down. If they have hard CC, think about a Malphite, like a full AP Malphite. And like an Annie or something like that. But even into that, you can build QSS. See, only hard knock-ups that are unavoidable are sort of a counter to Lilia. Thinking about champion like a Vi or something. But also against that you can play, because you can build a stasis. And then to top all of this off, Lilia also heals up. So if you can see in the clip right here, I'm against Amundo. He can out-damage me, but my healing will out-heal his damage. So there is just really nothing the enemies can do into a good Lilia. You should be able to easily maintain a 60+% win rate. Easily. And 60 is very conservative on this champion. And I think if you main Lilia in the current update right now, you should be able to get even closer to 70, perhaps even 75% win rate. Moving on to the mid lane. And this champion, being Twisted Fate, the main reason I've put him in the S+ tier is he just counters the meta. Besides him being a very strong champion already, he honestly just counters the meta. I just talked about Lilia. He counters Lilia. He is a champion that can stop Lilia. He wins lane very easily early game. This champion is able to get a lot of gold as well. Ooh. And because of his passive, right? He can get a lot of gold. And the beauty is, he does a lot of burst damage. But then on top of that, he also does a pretty hefty amount of sustained damage with his third ability, right? So this champion really has it all. And to top all of this off as well, he has that global ultimate, right? He can literally ult to bot lane, to top lane, to the enemy dragon, to the enemy red buff. It doesn't matter. He can ult whenever he wants. So if you can coordinate that with your teammate, let's say your Lee Sin wants to invade the enemy jungle. You can help him with that. You can just use your ultimate and help him with that. And then in the late game, when you reach late game, he doesn't fall off. He'll one-shot people, right? So there are just really no stages in the game where he falls off. Perhaps his only weakness could be very, very tanky front lines, right? Against Amundo, you're not going to do anything. Against the Garen, you're not going to do anything, right? You're not going to do anything against those tankier front lines. But in the clip, you can see right here, right? All of these people are super squishy. And whenever I catch someone, I'll just kill them. And then you may be thinking, right? Long range can counter Twisted Fate. You can build a magnetic blaster. He can do it all. And then you may think, right? But you just said tanks counter him. Is there really nothing you can do? There is. There is. You can build Nashor's Tooth. And while you won't be able to kill them super quickly, with a Nashor's Tooth, you'll actually be able to just stack so much gold on the tanks. Right? With your third ability plus Nashor's Tooth, you can do like 10 basic attacks on them. Just easily getting a lot of gold. And on top of that, the funny thing is as well, let's say the draft is completely trash and there's like 3 tanks in the enemies. You can then actually go for plan B, which is get a lethal tempo, get a Blade of the Rune King, and just go on hit Twisted Fate. So there is a response to everything. And even in such extreme cases, Twisted Fate will be fine. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. There is a build for everything. And while I don't really recommend going for the lethal tempo build, I mean, look at this example right here. What can the enemies possibly do into something like this? The answer is nothing. They just get double killed like it's nothing. And then the good thing is you can tilt enemies so hard with Twisted Fate as well, right? You can gank the same lane over and over and over again, and they're just gonna get beyond tilted at that point. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this video, this is a new type of video as well. This is not the high effort video that I'm talking about. There is a new series coming to this channel as well. But this is also a new type of video that I want to make, and I feel like provides a lot of value to this channel. So let me know what you guys think about this video. Give it a like as well. And yeah, let's move on to the next role. Now you see here, it gets interesting again. Because now we're talking about Varus. And you can build Varus in multiple different ways as well. You guys may remember my on-hit Varus build, right? It was so damn good. And it still is. And the funny thing is there's other builds too. Tank Varus. Definitely still very much a viable build, guys. It's not like Tank Varus doesn't work anymore. It's not like that was just a situational build that I gave you guys. It still works like an absolute gem. Try it. Play it. It's just a tad bit worse because Titanic Hydra got nerfed. But like, it's still unbelievably good. But the Lethal Tempo build is the best one, by the way. And it works into the meta as well. This one shreds through tanks, squishies, assassins as well. Because when an assassin dives you when you play Varus, you can just ult that assassin, right? When an Akali ults you, you can auto-aim your ult. When a Zed is a bit problematic. But there, you know, a lot of champions. I mean, look at the clip right here. I'm playing Lethal Tempo Varus, but I'm just one-shotting them. I'm absolutely one-shotting them. And then to counter the enemies one-shotting you, you can just build a stasis yourself as well. And the funny thing is, if you notice you're against a lot of squishy champions that you can't really reach easily, you're gonna ditch this build. You're gonna go for Lethality Varus, which works just as well in the right draft. AP Varus, unfortunately, is trash right now, but you don't need it. The Lethal Tempo Varus is the new AP Varus with the Blade of the Doom King and all of that, right? See, Terminus as well. The addition of this item made so many champions so good and gave so many champions a new and viable build path. And Varus is definitely included into that. And you know what the absolute beauty is? You can even combine the builds. You need more magic damage, you go for a Rift Maker. A simple Rift Maker. Put it in your Lethal Tempo build, put it in your, you know, Lethality build. You can, right? If the enemy is stacking armor, you just build the Rift Maker and you're gonna do magic damage. You're gonna do true damage. And it's just gonna work. That's the thing, it just works. All of that works on Varus. You need a Guardian Angel, you build a Guardian Angel. You know, you need, whatever you need, you can build. Whatever you need. You need a slow, you build a Cerulous Grudge. You need anti-heal, you build Mortal Reminder. You want burst damage early game, you go Duskblade and Yuma's Ghostblade. You want burst damage late game, you go for an Essence Reaver. Sorry, you want burst damage early mid game, you go for an Essence Reaver. You want burst damage late game, you go for a Mana Mune, right? That's what I wanted to say. A Mana Mune as well, it got buffed. So that means your arrows will do even more damage in the late game. And the reason I'm mentioning Varus is because initially I thought he's an obvious one, but I have not seen much Varus at all in ranked for some weird apparent reason. People are just not really playing Varus anymore. I just don't get it. You know, some champions get dropped and people are just not playing them as much anymore. Varus is one of them. I just don't really understand why. I really don't get it. Like, maybe he's not as broken as before, but he's at least 95% as broken. And the reason he's not as broken is because some of the items that he actually loves to play got nerfed, but some got buffed as well, you know, including the Muramana. So I mean, like, look at this clip. Look at this clip and tell me what you're seeing. You're seeing an Echo get one shot with a sustained damage build. I'm not playing Lethality Varus. I have a Runan's Hurricane, I have a Wit's Ant, I have Terminus. I only have attack speed items. But the champion just has so much base damage. And this is also why Tank Varus works so well. Because Varus has one of the best base damage in the game with his abilities. So yeah, that's it about the ADC. Let's move on to the support role. You know, and for the support role, we're not going to talk about the Yumis. We're not going to talk about the Lulus. We're not going to talk about all of that crap. We're going to talk about a champion made for real men, which is Thresh, guys. And honestly, this is, I really want to encourage people that are new to Thresh. It's really not that difficult to play Thresh. So it is, but it really isn't. And let me elaborate on what I mean with that. So you just shouldn't get scared of starting to play Thresh. You know, in the beginning, maybe your first 10 games, you're going to be terrible. But after that, once you've learned to be aggressive with Thresh. And honestly, learning to be aggressive with Thresh is, in my opinion, more important than learning to do some crazy combos with your lantern or anything like that. Learn to be aggressive. Learn to pick up the souls. This is another very important one. Like early on in the game, always have your eyes on the soul. In a team fight as well, always have your eyes on the souls. Pick them up because it counts. Like during a team fight, you can pick up so many souls. Every enemy that dies, you just get a soul. So wow, I love how I'm talking about learning the combos and then I fail it myself. Sorry, I love how I talk about learning to be aggressive and I fail combos myself. Like it shows you the combos are really just, obviously they're really important, right? And I am a lot better at Thresh than I was in this clip right here now. You'll learn the combos with the gameplay, right? Like after 50 games or so, at some point you'll learn the combos. But I really suggest people that are getting into Thresh to just be so unbelievably overly aggressive. Like, that's how you're only gonna learn the boundaries of Thresh, which Thresh really doesn't have many boundaries. Like, it's difficult to truly find the boundaries of Thresh. Seems like I did in this clip though. But regardless, this champion is crazy, guys. And you know, the beauty of Thresh is as well, when you master this champion, it's just so fulfilling. It's so good. It's not like, you know, playing Yuumi or Lulu. There really isn't mastering Yuumi or Lulu. Champions are super easy to play. Like in my eyes, you just can't master them. Like I can pick Lulu any day of the week and just outperform any Lulu main if I really want, or like any Yuumi main. I know a lot of people are gonna get mad at this, but I don't really care. So, you know, but Thresh, you know, if I'm never gonna be better than a master Thresh. Never. Even if I play 1,000 games of Thresh, I'm never gonna be better than, you know, the best Thresh ever. While like the best Lulu ever just doesn't really do much. So, you know, if you want a real challenge, but also a champion that doesn't have too high of a skill floor, which means it's not that difficult to get into Thresh, you know, this is a perfect champion to start playing. Absolute perfect champion. So yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Let me know your thoughts, give me feedback on this, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.